Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Just wanted to make a video before I go to sleep. So you've heard that saying, it takes a village to raise a child, right? Normally when I hear people say that, I roll my eyes. And the reason why I roll my eyes is because usually when people say it takes a village to raise a child, that's their defense of not raising children in nuclear homes. Well, it doesn't just take a mother and a father. That sounds like something the Republican Party would say. The statistics on fatherlessness do not come from the Republican Party, and they do not come from the Democrat Party. They come from the United States Census Bureau, and those statistics also come from the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And just for the record, the information that comes from the United States Census Bureau, that's information that people are reporting about themselves. It's just that the census draws conclusions based off of what people are saying about themselves. And so let me go backwards. When I hear people say it takes a village to raise a child, I usually roll my eyes because I know that they're saying that just to downplay the nuclear family. And obviously I disagree with that. And number one, statistics back my opinion that kids need a mother and a father. Again, this is a no-brainer that fatherlessness has horrific effects on children. And my argument is that it takes a mother and a father to create a child, which is the easy part. So obviously it's going to take a mother and a father to raise a child, which is the challenging part. No one is talking about those scenarios where one of the parents can't be present because of something that happened that can't be controlled. Like maybe one of the parents is abusive, one of them has a substance abuse issue. I mean, maybe one parent died, maybe the parents got married and it just didn't work out and they got divorced. Literally no one is criticizing those kinds of scenarios. When people talk about kids growing up in broken homes, growing up without a father, we're only referring to people that didn't even try to give their kids a nuclear home. Like, I understand when you get in the mood, you don't really think about the future, but you do have to stop for 2 seconds and think about what comes next. What happens if I get pregnant? Or what happens if I get this person pregnant? What's gonna come next? I get it, you don't always think that way when you get in the mood, but the out of wedlock rate in the Black community is out of control. The having babies out of wedlock rate in the Black community is freaking out of control. I don't know why people keep lying about it and making it seem like it's not that big of a deal. It is freaking out of control. It's been out of control for a while now, and that is what it is. It's out of control. And like hardly anybody says anything. Okay, so I have to back up again. I roll my eyes when I hear people say it takes a village to raise a child. I'm just going to repeat what I said previously because I think this is a good argument. It takes a mother and a father to raise a child, so obviously it's going to take a mother and a father it takes a mother and a father to create the child, which is the easy part. So obviously it's going to take a mother and a father to raise a child, which is the more challenging part. Because men and women are uniquely designed from one another, and the fact that they're unique means that they have specific qualities that they can pour into children. So it makes perfect sense to me that children that come from their married mother and father 2-parent homes tend to grow up more well-adjusted and stable than their counterparts. So it takes a village to raise a child. I always thought that phrase was stupid because I know that it's meant to downplay the nuclear family. But then recently, it occurred to me that there's a little bit of validity to that phrase. There's some truth to it. When I say there's truth to it, I'm not talking about the fact that you need babysitters, you need friends and family members to help when you can't leave work to pick your kid up from school, blah, blah, blah. I get all that, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the natural human desire to fit in and to belong and to feel loved. So it takes a village to raise a child. I guess there is some truth to that because the village that's raising Black children is the streets. There is truth to that statement that the Black children are being raised by the streets because their mothers procreate with bums And then their fathers also choose to procreate, but then also choose to not help raise the children that they created, but that it is partially the mom's fault for procreating with someone that didn't want anything to do with you and your children long term. I might sound judgmental when I make these kinds of comments, but it's not like they're false or unfounded, or it's not like I'm just making it up that the out-of-wedlock rate in the Black community is astronomically high compared to the other races. It's not like I'm just saying that just to say it. I'm simply stating a fact. The village that is raising Black children is the streets. The village that is raising Black children is the streets. Their fathers are not around. Their mothers are off trying to earn a living, so they're basically on their own. So that's why they turn to gangs, and they join gangs, and they start selling drugs, and they start doing this, that, and the third, because everybody wants to belong somewhere. They want somewhere to fit in. That's only natural to want to feel like you have a family. And when your dad's not around and your mom is off trying to earn a living and you're just kind of left on your own, you're going to want to fit in somewhere. And just like Steve Harvey said, if you are a single mother raising a child, you need to get a good male figure in front of him and do it ASAP. Because boys are going to look for male figures that they can look at like a father. They're going to emulate whatever male figure is in front of them. That's who they're going to emulate. And I probably sound really, really judgmental. And okay, so if I do sound judgmental, I mean, there's a reason behind it. Only because when I make videos that sound judgmental, when I make Facebook posts that sound judgmental, I'm not making any apologies for anything I say. Because everything I'm saying is simply factual. I'm just pointing out things to you that you might be overlooking. So when I do make Facebook posts and like YouTube videos and they sound judgmental, the only reason why I still make them anyway is because I'm thinking about these kids. That's what's going through my mind, is these kids that are suffering at the result of adults' poor life choices. I'm losing my voice for some reason. I haven't been at work in a week, and yet I'm losing my voice. I was in Western New York last week. It was a little colder than I thought it would be. My mom has 2 cats. I was kind of coughing and sneezing because of the cooler temperature and because of her 2 cats. So maybe that's why I've lost my voice. I don't know. But anyways, when I make Facebook posts and YouTube videos that sound judgmental, what's going through my mind is these kids. These kids who are suffering at the result of adults' poor life choices. That's what really bothers me. And the thing that makes it worse is that kids don't stay kids forever. They turn into adults. So like, your life choices affect your children, and your life choices, like the effect that they have on your children, plays a major role on who they become as an adult. So it's a shame when dysfunction happens, but dysfunction that could have easily been avoided if the person had just made better life choices. So that's why I make the statements that I make. I mean, you can always watch the way you say things too. I think I've got pretty developed levels of finesse. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I know my interpersonal skills are pretty developed. That's just literally the way God built me. But that's why I proceed with making like videos. And if you go to my Facebook page, my Facebook posts are similar to the YouTube videos I make. I used to get attacked pretty frequently when I first started making YouTube videos and making Facebook posts about a year ago. But then I think the people that would attack me, they finally started to realize, like, nothing you say to me is going to change my mind. Like, I know I'm right, and I know how to articulate why I'm right and how I know I'm right. And I can also articulate why you are wrong. And it's not about being right and wrong. It's not really I'm right and you're wrong. It's really, this is wrong and let me tell you why this is wrong. This is right and let me tell you why this is right. That's really what it's more about. I don't really follow progressive narratives that are dominating the airwaves right now. I'm just thinking about these kids. I'm thinking about unborn babies that suffer as a result of adults' poor life choices. And even adults themselves suffer at the result of their own poor life choices. And it's like, this is something that could have been avoided so easily. And part of the problem might be that there isn't enough voices that are telling people the truth rather than telling them what they want to hear. I think that is a little bit of my motivation behind why I make the comments that I make. And I understand that when people make poor life choices, everyone has made poor life choices that they regret. It's just that when it comes to having kids with someone that you're not married to, and you doing that is gonna have an effect on your children. I understand that everybody makes mistakes, but I don't exactly look at that mistake as the same as other mistakes, only because there's another person involved that can't speak for themselves and that can't defend themselves, that other person being the child. And on top of that, my community has been making the same mistake over and over and over since the 60s, and it's 2020. Like, it's so crazy to me that girls are still allowing themselves to become baby mamas and men are still allowing themselves to become baby daddies. When you've seen all your friends do it, you probably were raised without a father, because most black children grew up without fathers. You probably didn't have a father. I mean, you probably saw your mother's friends raise kids by themselves. I'm sure you saw your aunts raising kids by themselves. It's like everyone has been making the same mistake over and over and over since the 60s. So it's like we've seen so many other people have kids that they're not ready for, and we've seen them suffer. So why are people still making the same mistake that you've already seen so many other people make? Again, I know the answer to that. You know, people who come from broken homes, they tend to go on to create broken homes because that's all they know. The broken home to them is normal. They don't know any better. I mean, they do know better, but it's an environment that they're familiar with. But still, babies are a blessing. Don't misunderstand me. Babies are a blessing, but the timing in which you bring them into the world is not always a blessing. Especially if you were having premarital sex and the Bible speaks so negatively against sexual sin, and then you turn around and say a baby is a blessing. I mean, that seems kind of hypocritical. But I understand when people make life choices that they later regret. I know that there's like some guilt. They already beat themselves up about it. At the exact same time, you have to warn the people that haven't made that mistake yet. Like, you have to let them know, do not walk this pathway. You're going to regret it later. So that's why people like myself like to speak up and say something instead of just sitting back and quietly watching. That kind of can sound like a tough pill to swallow, but maybe to help with some of the guilt that you might have, like if you're someone who made a poor life choice and it affects you, it affects your kid and you regret it, maybe you should start speaking up and warning other people not to make the same mistake that you did. No one can throw something in your face if you've already brought it up. So I'm just going to say it again. That statement, it takes a village to raise a child. There is some validity to it, because a village that's raising black children is the streets.